Sue Storm on this track, I'll knock it out of sight. Reed Richards, Hamlock, Johnny, can I get a light? X-Men 2099, we the freak show, not a living planet, but I gotta check my ego. Capus Hydra, can you handle that reveal? Bruce rocks, Allison Blair in the Batmobile. My bars go hard, when I flex I get called a Colossus ripoff like Commander Steel. Lock and key allow me to pick the padlock. Studios, YouTube, Photoshop, interviews, Twitter, drink some. Hey comic book lookers, it's your boy Jon on Demand, but really quick, I did this audio thing, a shout out to these gentlemen to my left that I just wanted to kind of do.
Let's get intimate.
Really quick. You can find me spitting audio greatness like my name is Alex Garrett or Marvin. Find me having Gotham mimosas with Bruce while Ivy is 10 in the garden. Oh! Bam! Alright, anyways.
Damn,
Tom over here hanging out with me, co-CEO of A Comic Book Look. And of course, you guys, Wednesday Comics is in the bill this evening. Marvin, Alex, and Garrett. So...
You know, when we just recorded the Wednesday Comics podcast, guys. Make sure if you're not currently subscribed, get to your podcast app and hit that button right away. But when you guys start the comic or the podcast, you have that sick song, that where like Garrett's is like ka ka ka, and I have this sweet. I was hoping that you guys were gonna play it as we get into the show, but you don't. Yeah, because every time I sing a song that goes Garrett, Marvin, Alex, Garrett, Marvin,Alex, as I say it every single time.
Oh my God.
In my car, like a guy will be coming up and be like, is that guy just saying three dudes' names? And I am. But guys, thank you so much for coming on and having us on. And so we had to. This is the infamous table for Wednesday Comics, as you've seen on their YouTube channel. You can find a link at our YouTube page. But we got to sit them down for an episode, right, guys? So me and Jon talked real quick, and I just laid down an idea.
Jon did through HR.
Yeah, we're good. Jon gave me the okay. Awesome. So for this episode, guys, this is this classic desert island scenario. So you're on a desert island,
man,
and
telling you what I can't bring.
You get three things. And one of them has to be a knife, one of them has to be a rope. So you get one extra thing, and it has to be either like a run of comics, a graphic novel, one comic book if you wanted to. That'd suck that you remember you're going to be here a long time. So we have to figure out what you would bring. So it's not necessarily your favorite, but it'd have to be the one that you could probably get the most out of rereading.
Yeah.
I would, before I give my answer, some of the things that I'm going to take into consideration, it's like, it can't be fucking like a 6 issues, right? Because I got like years and years. So it's almost like
does it have to be like a comic book run for many years?
I think it can be. I think I'm going to say right now that you can pick a full run if it's like similar creator or storyline. And so I'm kind of leaning towards like something that's like really long that you can like read, like maybe like Walking Dead as a whole. You got 170 issues. You can like
you'd be in the zone because you'd be all alone.
Oh, exactly. But you do get those if you get them in compendiums. You like can fly through those compendiums in like 3 nights. But something along those lines.
Would you bring what's out right now, or do you wait till it's over?
Like, is it a whole thing that I'm getting? Like,
I say tomorrow you're going to the desert island. So up till.
Okay. I was just curious because Robert Kirkman just did announce that he is ending Walking Dead.
I know. What? I can't believe it.
With what?
He said there is an ending. He's not saying he's not going to end it anytime soon.
I thought he said the 4th compendium would be the last one.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I just heard that he said that
it
is an end. He has an end for Walking Dead now, which is bullshit.
I know he said
it's Carl walking all over the dead bodies. That's what
Carl.
His original thing was like that's going to run forever.
Forever, yeah. And on Saga, BKV always says, how long Saga going to go for? And he always says 100 issues longer than The Walking Dead.
Shit.
Wow.
So you're saying,
but yeah,
that we just need to bring one comic.
Yeah, you have to
one run or something.
Yeah, just one set of comics. And I don't know if I'm picking Walking Dead. I'm just saying that would be like a lot of shit that you could bring. Or do you want to like bring Watchmen and then like analyze it all and like go through panel by panel and what you have a bunch to think about?
Or do you super hard?
Or
How long's Watchmen? 12 issues, right?
12 issues. But shit, if you read the pirate part,
right.
you know, that you usually skip when you reread it, if you read that part, you're adding like another 3 days of reading. Or do you go with like something that's just like super fun that reminds you that, you know, like there's another world not on a desert island, like, I don't know, something more personal, New York 5 or something from Vertigo.
Here's the thing also I would think that you could take into consideration. If you're reading something like The Watchmen, has a lot of, you can reread it a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas like you could bring, if I brought something like The Walking Dead, I think I wouldn't read. I'd read it once through and then that'd be it. Maybe I might.
But then again, it's like by the time you're at 170, you're like, well, maybe I could start at 1 again. What really happened?
What really happened?
That book's super depressing though.
Yes.
Especially when they're in prison.
Yeah, and you're gonna potentially just die on this island. So if you want to, you don't really probably want to read about death all the time.
Okay, I got one. Because I've taken in your point and Marvin's point, but I pick Dark Knight Returns because I can reread that book so many times. So I know it's only 4 like bigger sized issues.
Yeah, but it's still. I mean, it's big. The trade's a big. Book,
right? And so like it has enough parts to it that I would still be entertained rereading it. Especially like if I get the newer ones that have all the back matter, I kind of look at the art a little bit. You know, there's a lot of like how Frank Miller does his work all the time. There's like a lot of hidden meanings behind everything that he puts in his book. So it's like you can just sit at the island, stare at the water, and be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. So that would be my first. I mean, that would be one legit that I know would keep me entertained. Like if I had something to preoccupy myself, I'd just be like, all right, Dark Knight Returns, so I could reread it multiple times.
Okay, I think I got mine. Why the Last Man?
Oh, fuck, that's good.
I was trying to think of what's going to have the most, but what's going to even be more enticing. And I remember reading like Why the Last Man.
Have you read that, Marvin?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, Why the Last Man.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my choice. Why the Last Man?
That's a perfect choice. I think Alex just won, folks, because that is a perfect choice.
That is a great series.
First of all, you'll relate. You're like the last man on the island. I mean, granted, there's no women there like trying to kill attack you, and then also it's just like a truly comic book classic run of 60 issues or whatever, however much it went. I love that series.
That is a great series.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to be stuck somewhere by yourself, you need a book that can, when you read it, have multiple things happen. One, you read it through and you're like, it's very hopeful. It's a very not upbeat, but also not depressing book. You read it, it makes you think a lot. Makes you think about probably a lot of things that you don't get to experience or people you lost, things like that. And I think also like it has to be just in terms of comic booking, like good. Like excellent.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm on that island, and I'm going to say what exact kind too. Absolute Edition, All-Star Superman.
Yes! I was right.
Yeah,
I knew you were going to say that too.
Exactly.
Right.
That's just Marvin's answer for any time he talks about good comic books. All-Star Superman.
Not Vision?
Well, here's the reason.
Not Vision?
No. Vision's kind of depressing. It's
I suppose. By the end, you're just like...
No, I mean, there's nothing that makes you more happy. I agree. I mean,
you get an issue if he takes Lois on. He knows, like, hey, I'm going to give Lois superpowers for a day and see how it is being me. Like, she's always been, like, the one that's not powered, and they go on a date. And then you have an issue where he, this girl's going to commit suicide, and he, like, it's hopeful. He helps her and be like, hey, not everything's bad. Which, I mean, going to be on that island. I'm probably going to be depressed like that, too, and I can read that and be like, hey, everything's not so bad. Let's try to be positive here. And then it can get to the end of that story when he sacrifices himself. Spoilers.
Yeah.
for the world, and, like, and it's like a positive message. It's like, he loves the people so much, he's like, no, I'm going to basically kill myself so you guys can live. And even like that whole thing, like, and then it's Very Quietly Art, it's Grant Morrison's story, like, that thing is 10 out of 10 on all bases. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best comics of all time, for sure. It's cool that it's like a modern enough comic that one of the best comic books of all time came out.
But I need the absolute for 2 reasons. 1, that Frank Quietly Art, I needed big scale. 2, I can use that shit to kill like animals and then eat it.
Hey, there you go. Exactly.
Which is a tell of how Marvin takes care of his comics. He's just like, oh, spider, I'll just grab this convenient collector's item and use it to kill the spider.
Use a pillow, a sunblock. Right. I think he's onto something there.
All over my book now. Pages are stuck.
Yeah, use it as shelter.
I think my official answer would be like something I've never read before. And then I'm just going to like make a long run. There's like a lot of old classic runs that I've heard about and I've always wanted to read, like Longbow Hunters of Green Arrow, or like Steve Burns' Superman run like throughout the 80s. Like where he like reboots Superman, or like Claremont's full 80s X-Men. Like one of those that it's looked back in comic history as being like, this is one of the most influential comic books for superheroes, and everybody in the future draws off of these stories. So like if I had to pick one of those that I've always wanted to read and still haven't, that I think that I could trust, is that Superman Steve Byrne.
And then if you don't like it, Firewood.
Exactly. I mean, you can do all sorts of stuff, like roll big joints.
Not firewood.
But
you can rip out the ads. That'll be okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, no.
And it's like I'm not a Superman guy, but I've always like really wanted to be a Superman guy. I'm just like waiting for that story.
I need to throw some things your way that aren't now.
And there are things that I've read. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I love All-Star Superman. Is literally one of my best. I picked that up in issue form.
You're right, best book ever.
And I mean, I know it's hard to argue with you, but because it is so good.
What you should go get is, so bring all that stuff you were going to bring, and then also because it's an issue, so you can bring it. It'll fit right along. Superman #1 New 52. Because you can read that and it'll put you to sleep every night.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry about anything.
They're perfect, man. Yeah, I have those. I have that. I think I
You have that issue? Why hasn't it been burned and sacrificed?
It should be.
I
think I did just. We didn't want to talk about it again.
Not to bring it back. Obviously, Superman's in a rare place now, but just to get it like out of here. Bad demons out.
Yeah, no, that should have gone on the Lazarus, but that's a huge oversight.
Yeah, we'll fix that next episode.
Because I remember I bought every New 52 #1.
Did you?
Every single one.
Yeah.
That was like the first thing that like we all like we're gonna start at the same time.
Right.
We all jumped in. I think we got every single one.
Most of them. There's a couple I didn't go on.
All right, I got everything too.
Yep, I remember just at least doing one because we did a show that talked about every single
issue
one. It was
hey, #2, if I can, Jonah Hex.
Oh man,
New 52.
There you go. Yeah, Jimmy
like 50
Palminotti,
issues,
Justin Gray's, Jonah Hex. I got them all in trade there until I went back and picked them up in trade. Got like the last 20% in issues. But those are all one shots. You could just read one a day.
That's what I mean.
You have your story. You don't have to worry about anything else.
You could work all day and then finish the day with one, and you won't have to worry about like, hey,
Exactly.
what happened last time? Yeah, this is all I got.
But then also usually pretty depressing too. He's
Yeah,
like,
well.
oh, he has no friends. His girlfriend
he's a
never
badass
wants
a lot of
him.
times.
That's true.
And you're like, I'm gonna go kill something tomorrow.
What about you, Johnny boy?
I don't know. There's so many approaches that you guys took. I actually have multiple answers. So my first question is, the island itself, is it a stranded situation? Because if that's the case, I want Marvel's, what's the event with the holographic cards on the cover? Where Magneto rips out Wolverine's skeleton. Eternal something, I don't know. But it was one of the events. Not Felix Covenant, but the other one.
Yeah.
I just had
90s events.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Why can't I think of this? It's right on it.
Yeah.
But yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, but they had the holographic cards. So hey, if I need to signal a plane, just line those bad boys up.
Ooh,
Bam,
there
right?
it goes.
Be more tactical with this.
If I'm bored and
Smarter than us.
if I'm bored and want kind of a Where's Waldo of Marvel characters, then the Necrotia one shot where you can't tell who's who with all these raised from the dead comic book because the art's so dark.
I cannot believe
You could
even
spend
brought
years.
that up, man.
You could spend years deciphering who is that.
That is. Have you guys ever seen that Necrotia book?
it
It was a
was so
crossover
bad.
that they
X-Force.
had. Yeah, that it was.
I have an issue.
It was literally there. It was so dark. Everybody's skin toned went to gray, and they all had red eyes.
And you couldn't tell who was who.
And there would be like 100 people on the page, and all talking to each other, and you never knew who was talking ever. And I can't believe you would bring that. Like, we trashed that thing so hard on a comic book.
Yeah, it was so bad. But no, treating that as a Where's
I was
Waldo,
going to say, it would take a long
I'd be
time to get through
entertained.
every panel.
Yeah.
You'd have to do one panel per day.
Definitely going CSI on that. But honestly, if I wanted to kill some time for sure, Detective Comics. Because I've been rocking out with it now since 900.
If you just choose Detective Comics, you get 1,000 comics.
I know, like, digitally you can buy like all the collections up to like the New 52, and they're like $400, but still, like, to be able to read every single issue.
Awesome. If you get to read all 1940 to 45, you like old school.
I can tell you, I would have a hard time getting through at least those first 50 years.
What?
The dialogue's off the hook.
Well, yeah, the dialogue's a little, golden age, obviously,
it's
but the colors and
Golden Age comics are rough.
Man.
I mean, they're rough to read.
Right.
Like, you read those reprints, you're like,
Ooh,
okay, 15 minutes in, page 2. Now to page 3. Here we go. The word bubbles are so filled up, you can barely see art squeezed in between.
Right.
So at that point, I could read 1 page a day.
Yeah, you could. Man.
I would be dead before I even finished the whole series.
But I kind of like that when they punch somebody and then the narrator's like, and then he punched somebody, and then the guy's word bubble is like, I'm punching you. It's like, okay, we got it covered 3 times.
DC's been putting out these collections recently, which are the Golden Age, Silver Age of characters, and they're on Hoopla. And I think Batman. I remember reading Batman and thinking it's not actually that bad compared to old Golden Age stuff. And I think that's a lot of Bill Finger. So
yeah, that's right.
It's a lot more because back then they had actually detective comics, so it's more gritty.
Totally. Did you guys watch that Bill Finger documentary?
Yeah, we
were planning to. We gotta watch that.
You have to watch.
Is it so good?
It's it's a Goosebumps movie. You will have goosebumps almost the entire time you watch it.
Does it make you hate Bob Kane?
I guess I don't really.
Yeah.
Because it's Bill Finger wasn't stepping up and trying to do anything to try to make his way known that more. He seems like a really defeated guy.
Kind of
yeah, but it was, I think Bob Kane's Bob Kane. It's everybody, even back then, knew that if you have a comic that says Bob Kane, it comes from Bob Kane's studio. He always had a studio with a house of artists and a house of writers, and they could put out 4 or 5 books. And it would always just, at the end, DC liked it because it just came from Bob Kane. It was always Bob Kane. He never did any of the writing or drawing throughout, 50 years. He would have oversight on it. So it was always kind of a known thing. So I guess I didn't feel super bad for Bill Finger. But it's I just didn't know. I did not know all the things that,
You know what's weird about that situation is that for a long time, actually majority of the time, that's how Stan Lee was.
Oh yeah, that's 100. That is
people
exactly what it
love
was.
Stan Lee and they hate Bob Kane. I don't understand. He did the same thing to Jack Kirby.
He did the same thing to Steve Ditko. 100%. I mean, so Ditko, came up with Spider-Man's costume, everything that was in,
And for a long time, Steve Ditko was writing it, but it said it's written by Stan Lee because Stan Lee was like, "No, you tell him I wrote that."
Yep, and he was the note that Steve Ditko got for Spider-Man was "Hey, I'm thinking about a guy who's like Batman, but he's Spider-Man." And then it was that was the note. And then Ditko made the entire thing.
Yeah. Wow.
And then Stan Lee's it's my greatest creation. It's that one memo you sent, you fucking asshole.
Yeah. And for a long time, if you read a great book, which I've been trying to get these guys to read, you should read is Marvel the Untold Story.
Oh, I love it. It's so good. And it's crazy. I mean, they just threw Kirby under the bus so hard.
For a long time, Stan Lee would even in the letters pages make fun of Steve Ditko being yeah, Steve came crying to me the other day about that I'm not getting him enough credit. Well, whatever.
It's
holy shit.
And Stanley, he always says arrogant things if the character's not nailed down, I'll say I created it. It's yeah, you sure will, you jerk.
Such a sweet old man.
Yeah, but the history, that's what I mean. History's kind to him, but for Bob Kane, people are yeah, screw Bob Kane. But you're right, they both the same.
And that's why it's I think it got to the point where now it was the 70s and 80s, and now he had been Bob Kane as Batman. He's an old man, not contributing anything, and they're well, aren't you going to give it to Finger? He's probably going, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I kind of put the studio together. I got the deal with DC. I talked to these guys, and I'm sure that's just his mentality going through. Right. And then when he was closer to death, he ends up being yeah, Bill Finger should probably have equal credit and shit like that. So. Or not, he never says equal credit, but he's he should have credit. And so I think it ended up, it's just the documentary is so well done. And this one dude who does the documentary has no skin in the game at all. There's no reason why he should even be looking into this at all. And so then it's just so crazy that this is just one guy who has nothing to do with Batman, nothing to do with comics, is hey, Bill Finger's family, you need to do something about this, and got the whole thing going.
Wow.
It was great though. You gotta watch it. But read that book as well.
It's good. Book. It's also a good documentary is the Image documentary. It's out on Hulu also.
What?
That.
There's a documentary on Image? The founding of it or what? Dude, I might watch that tonight.
I think it came out for the 25-year anniversary That's cool.
Oh shit! I didn't know that at all. I love Image. So, yeah.
So if I go to this island, can I bring one of these movies?
Yeah, you can. I mean, no TV or player or computer.
Okay,
So.
Put it in the sand.
Yeah, like Joe Rogan has this like funny joke where he's like, "Yeah, I mean, everybody thinks they're so goddamn smart, don't they? Yeah, well, I'll put you on an island and I'll come get you when you can email me." It's like, yeah, dude, never.
You know what? Also, like, when you talk about these comics bringing to the island, and actually, I think a good why people like that kind of type of question, especially with what they like, is that it really narrows you down to be like, okay, if it came down to it, like, what do you like?
Yeah.
Rather than be like, what's top 5? You could always switch it on and off.
Exactly.
But like saying, like, if I'm going to be on an island by myself,
stuck with it.
Like, what means more to me than everything else?
Yeah.
So that's a good question.
Yes, indeed.
All-Star Superman, right, everybody?
Yep. I mean, I agree with it. I mean, if I got to the island and I was like, oh, fuck, man, only palm trees and coconuts, and then there was one copy of All-Star Superman, like, woo!
Grant Morrison comes out and he's like, he
Oh my God, that would be so
then he flies away and you're like, holy shit.
I'd just grab onto his ankle. I wouldn't even question anything. I'd be like, he can fly. I've always thought that.
Oh, there's a Grant Morrison documentary on Hulu too, and it's amazing.
What? Oh,
God, it's so good. It makes me love that man. And he was on Fat Man and Batman. Every time this guy is on an interview in this documentary,
so good.
It makes me love him so much. You know why? Because he's passionate about comics. He loves them, and that's the only reason why he writes them. He doesn't write them to get like famous. He doesn't write them for money, even though he gets paid a lot. I mean, he's Grant Morrison now, but he writes them because he's like, he'll talk about Batman and Robin, and you'll hear him talk about Batman and Robin, and be like, this man loves Batman and Robin.
Yeah, you have to, like, when you hear him on Fat Man on Batman, and he has one with Terry Gross on NPR, and there's like a bunch of good ones, but he always, like, Grant Morrison, nobody has thought more about Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, you think Scott Snyder's always, like, thinking in the background and stuff like that, but nobody thinks as deep into, like, the character of Bruce Wayne as, like, Grant Morrison did when he was writing all that shit, dude. He had, like, legendary run, man. And, yeah, into Batman Incorporated, it culminated all. He's the man. He needs to write more comics, man. Grant, where you been, dude? We're missing you, dog.
Too busy editing Heavy Metal.
Yeah.
He's also Graphic India.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's like, I heard he was like,
he's making Arkham Asylum #2.
Oh, yeah, I guess he is making Arkham Asylum #2.
I'll get the pit ready.
Might as well just call it Arkham Asylum. You don't need to read the first one. So.
Bring that to the island.
Hell no.
Yeah,
I would take the coconuts to my head and just go like this until I passed out.
No, you might like it after you did that. Dun, dun.
Yeah.
Whoa,
This is making sense.
Cool. But yeah. All right. Well, good episode, boys.
Before we shut it down, though, we always like to get the skinny and spoilers and exclusives on a comic book look. So what is next for Wednesday Comics?
Yeah.
What exciting tidbits do we get the first look at?
Well, I like to invite an invitation to your audience. We're recently starting this, and once again, don't go into the name. We're starting a book club, right? Quarterly, so we're going to do 4 books a year.
Can't wait. Yeah, you already announced the first one.
We announced first Umbrella Academy Volume 1, the first one, the Apocalypse Suite.
Perfect. Gerard Way.
Sergeant Mark just told me he already got it. Yeah, Gerard Way, Gabriel Ba. They're making it into a Netflix series, so we thought a lot of people would want to read it anyways.
That's cool.
So, read it, and then on our show we'll talk about it at the end of the quarter. I invite you to.
It's a great series. I have already read it. I have all the comics. I will just reread it because I like Umbrella Academy for sure.
Send a voicemail in. Go visit listen to the podcast you guys are on. I leave the voicemail number and then call in.
That's
right.
Interactive.
I want a lot of interaction with this.
All right, so get it, guys. And I actually got almost all of Umbrella Academy off the dollar wall at Rainbow like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've never seen that. And if you use Hoopla library service, it's on there. You can go to the library. And actually, they might still be doing it. Comixology was having an Umbrella Academy sale today.
Well, get on it. But just go to Hoopla. It's free.
Cool. All right, well, we'll shut it down here. You guys, Wednesday Comics is in the building, but we don't just keep it comics on Wednesdays. We all keep it comics all the time here in the 60 Fizzle. So hopefully you guys are having an awesome comic book summer, and tune in, check us both out. Audio needs are met. Video needs are met. We're doing great. So keep it comics for sure, man.
Boom!
Boom.